Greetings, everyone. I'm Jed Shlackman, and I'm a holistic counselor and energy healer. In this video, I'll be speaking about the thyroid, one of our important endocrine glands, and the element iodine, an important trace mineral, and how that relates to thyroid health, to our overall well-being, to our hormones, etc. So for those that are just somewhat new to this topic, the thyroid gland is the gland in the throat area which produces thyroid hormones. T3 and T4 are the thyroid hormones, and you'll see those often on blood tests where they're measuring your hormone levels. The thyroid plays an important role in many aspects of our health. It affects our body temperature, our immune system, our metabolism, so our weight is often influenced by what's going on with the thyroid gland. It also affects our mood. So it's a really vital gland in the body. It's also rather sensitive. It's sensitive to environmental influences, to environmental toxins, etc. And it's a gland that's in the throat area, and your throat area is part of the ear, nose, and throat region of your body, and that's often where we get affected by some type of infection. So the thyroid gland is one that is vulnerable to infectious conditions that we're exposed to. So all of that comes into play as I discuss iodine and how that vital element relates to our thyroid health. Iodine is an element in the periodic table that's part of what are called the halogens. So it's a family of elements which also includes fluorine, chlorine, bromine. So these are the halogen elements. In our body, those can kind of compete with each other for the receptors where we're taking in those elements to use them. So what can happen is if you're exposed to too much of the other halogen elements, it could interfere with your body uptaking and utilizing iodine. So if you're if you're exposed to a lot of chlorine, a lot of fluoride, a lot of bromides, then that could interfere with your iodine absorption or metabolism, and therefore interfere with your thyroid gland and it's synthesizing the thyroid hormones. In our modern era, we're exposed to a lot of those other elements, the other halogens, in different compounds in our environment. Chlorine, of course, is used to neutralize microbes. It's used in swimming pools to disinfect and so on. So we could be exposed to it a lot in that context. There's also the element fluorine, which is in fluoride compounds. And fluoride is another element that's used in our environment. It's added to toothpaste, to drinking water. So when you're drinking tap water, usually you're getting both chlorine and fluorine compounds in the water. The element bromine, you'll find bromide compounds a lot in the environment. They might be in fungicides and pesticides and in chemicals used to make bread. So that element, bromine, is another one that some people are exposed to in excess that could interfere with their iodine metabolism. Another issue in regard to iodine is our diet and the minerals in the soil. In some regions, the soil is very deficient in iodine. If you're very far away from the ocean, the local crops probably won't have much iodine. The best sources of iodine are the ones that come from the sea, from the ocean. So that includes seaweeds, it includes some of the fish and marine wildlife. So you'll get iodine when you're consuming those. There are some other foods that have some significant amounts of iodine, but depending on the source, it might not be that much. So depending on the quality of the soil, on what animals are fed, there might not be that much iodine that you're getting from your diet. So the interaction of those factors, how much you're taking in with your diet or supplements versus how much of these other elements that interfere with iodine you're being exposed to, that can affect this ratio of what's going on in your body, of how much iodine is active in your system and available to synthesize the thyroid hormones. So what often happens is people are experiencing some type of symptoms related to the thyroid. Their body temperature is off, their metabolism is off, the blood tests may be showing the thyroid hormone levels are off. And when that happens, many doctors will just look at that and say, okay, looks like you have hypothyroidism, and to treat that, we'll give you a medication which is a synthetic thyroid hormone. So that's replacing the active thyroid hormone with a synthetic version. So it's compensating for the fact that your body isn't producing enough of its own hormone. It's not, however, addressing what's happening to your body that's interfering with its ability to produce an optimal amount of the hormone. So what's disturbing that hormone synthesis? What's the cause of this problem? The doctors aren't actually addressing that. They're just compensating for that situation with a synthetic hormone. But if you only do that, you may, for the short term, relieve some of your symptoms, but the underlying problem may actually be getting worse. So there may be some infection you have that's disrupting your thyroid. You might have some toxic chemicals in your body that are interfering with the iodine metabolism and are probably creating other problems in your body that might not even be showing up yet. So if you're ignoring those issues that are actually the cause of the hormone deficiency, then you're setting yourself up potentially for worse problems in the long run. So yes, you're going to have some major issues if you don't have your hormone level in the quote-unquote normal range. So you do want to bring it into that normal range one way or another. Temporarily, it might suffice to use that medication that's a synthetic hormone. You could also take the natural version, which would be a desiccated glandular extracted glandular material from an animal that supplies the hormones. But even if you do that, you're not getting to the root cause of the problem, to the fundamental reason why your body isn't producing the normal amount of the hormones. So you would want to look at your diet and nutrition. Are you getting adequate amounts of the iodine element? You'd want to look at your environment and your your diet. Are you exposed to things like chlorine, bromine, fluorine, those other elements that are potentially interfering with iodine? So you might need to cut your exposure to those other chemicals, avoiding exposure to pesticides, to chemicals in bread, to chemicals in a swimming pool. So those are things you'll want to watch out for. Also consider, are there any kind of stealth infections in your body? So you could have viral or bacterial infections, parasites, mold, other things that are affecting your immune system, depleting your body of nutrients, etc. So if you're experiencing those conditions, it might be causing your body to actually use up its iodine more quickly than normal, so you run out of what's needed to maintain your hormone level. So you want to help treat your body in a way that reduces the load of infections. So everything that helps boost your immune system, that helps clear out heavy metals and mold and parasites, all those things that are kind of stressing your immune system in some way, to clear those out. These are all things to consider in relation to iodine and to thyroid health. And a majority of conventional mainstream type doctors don't really pay attention to those things. They'll tend to neglect it since they're not really educated about those topics. They're just trained to look at the tests, the blood tests, and see if your hormone levels are in range or not. And if they're low, if your T3 and T4 are low, they'll usually prescribe some form of synthetic thyroid supplement, the synthetic thyroid hormones. So that could temporarily make things feel better. It might bring your blood levels into a normal range, but it's not actually treating the real causes of the issue. And over time, your situation could deteriorate again. Things could end up even worse than they were to begin with by not really addressing the causes. So I encourage you to educate yourself about this. Whether or not you have a physician that's aware of some of these other factors, you can kind of take take things into your own hands in the sense of boosting your own health, working with your diet, your environment, all these factors that are affecting your thyroid hormone synthesis. And it's very common to take those steps and to get your body back into a mode, into its own balance, where it's able to produce the normal amount of hormone again, and a person doesn't have to continue relying on the synthetic thyroid hormone to replace their natural version. for those that are interested in this topic, I have a section about thyroid health on my website. It also covers some of the psychological and energetic aspects of the endocrine system and thyroid function. What's happening chemically with all these elements and hormones, that's also greatly influenced by the energy field, the energy flow coming through your body. So that relates to the meridians, the chakras, the biofield or aura, and the psychological issues that are in turn influencing the energy system. So this area has to do with our voice, with communication, how we're able to express ourselves, how we feel others are hearing or listening to us. So all of those psychological concerns are part of the equation too. So you can learn about addressing the subconscious and energetic aspects of the thyroid. So my site, I call it Psychoenergetic Healing. So the psychological and energetic components really have a great impact on the physical body, how efficiently it's functioning and maintaining itself, its balance and homeostasis. So we want to consider both aspects, the physiological, the biochemical, as well as the energetic and the psychological. So all of that information is on my website, phinsights.com, phinsights.com. And for now I'm going to write on the whiteboard behind me some of these key terms I've mentioned. So we're talking here about the thyroid. And your thyroid has the synthesis of T3 and T4. So those are the families of hormones. You'll see those on blood tests. And then we have the elements: iodine, chlorine, fluorine, and bromine. Those are the halogens. So these are the elements that are part of this system, this equation we're looking at. And as I said before, the metabolism of iodine could be disrupted by the excess presence of those other elements. And we want our endocrine system functioning optimally. The chemicals in this system are the ones that are really controlling pretty much all the primary functions of our body. And these glands are communicating with each other. You have the pituitary, the master gland, and the pineal, thyroid, parathyroid, your pancreas, where you produce insulin, your thymus gland that produces the T cells for the immune system. You have the reproductive glands, of course. We're producing testosterone, estrogen, etc. And you have your adrenal glands. That's where you're producing adrenaline, cortisol, so the energizing hormones for your body. So all of these are kind of functioning together. There's a of communication going on throughout your whole body, so your body can coordinate its activity. No part of your body is isolated from the rest of the body. Everything really has to work together. So if things are not coordinating, if your body isn't communicating within itself, then things aren't going to be so efficient. So we want this internal communication within your body and all its systems to be functioning smoothly. And your thyroid is a key element of that. It is the communication area, right? So it's also communicating within the body's own systems. I appreciate each of you for viewing this video, for exploring these topics with me. And again, the website is phinsights.com. If you have any particular questions or concerns, you're welcome to contact me through the information there. For now, I want to wish everyone a wonderful day. Namaste.